What's going on, everybody? Mike Tipton hanging out with you here on a Monday. It is January 6th, and we are live on YouTube, on X, on Roku, via the National Streaming Sports app. Shout out to our friends over at National Streaming Sports for allowing us to do some of this cool stuff. A cool thing that's going to happen a little bit later on this week on Wednesday. As a matter of fact, I will be interviewed, which is a weird concept for me, but I will be interviewed by Mac and the crew on Wednesday night. That'll be about around 4 o'clock here in the El Paso area. So go ahead, tune into that. I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be a good time. Let's see what it is that they want to talk to your boy about. Maybe it'll be a public lashing, a public firing of sorts. Maybe it'll be something like that. Who knows? I'm excited to figure it all out as we continue our partnership here with National Streaming Sports. And of course, remember, we are brought to you by our friends over at RevAutoCarCare.com. I need to do that a little bit better. Remember, we're brought to you by our friends over at RevAutoCarCare.com. Use promo code Tipton33. That's Tipton33 to save up to 15% on all of your car care needs. And, of course, we are brought to you by our friends over at MyHappyNuts.com. That's www.myhappynuts.com, the leader in male grooming products. www.myhappynuts.com/Mike Tipton. That's where you want to go to make sure that you have that you are taking care of yourself the best way that you possibly can. www.myhappynuts.com/Mike Tipton. All right. The end of the regular season happened yesterday, and despite the fact that I more or less expected the Dallas Cowboys to do what the Dallas Cowboys have done all season long, I was slapped in the face with, once again, them doing what they do best, which is just giving me enough hope to take it away from me in the most gruesome and horrid way possible. And I cannot for the life of me understand how or why this team doesn't have whatever the clutch gene is, right? Like we hear about that all the time in sports. Like that person has the clutch gene, or that person can do this, or that person can do that, or blah, 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 blah. The Dallas Cowboys, for whatever reason, over the last 3 decades, don't have that. You don't trust whenever they have a lead that they're going to hold on to their lead, and you don't trust whenever they're down that they're going to be able to come back and win. You can watch teams like this year, the Washington Commanders, and say, okay, they have the makings of doing something great. They have proven time and time again that they can come back and win games. Hell, that Hail Mary against the Chicago Bears was one of those things that you can say, well, okay, yeah, you know what? They might be a team that you can never really count out, right? The Kansas City Chiefs, we know, are already that team. We don't have any questions about whether or not the Kansas City Chiefs can come back on people. We don't have questions on the Buffalo Bills or the Detroit Lions. We might have been planted some seeds yesterday that maybe the Minnesota Vikings might not be in that conversation. Chicago Bears beating the Green Bay Packers, that to me, not enough to say maybe there's some chinks in the armor of the Green Bay Packers. Jordan Love was out for the majority of that game against Chicago. But the Dallas Cowboys have a pretty handy lead over the Washington Commanders going into the fourth quarter and just, again, lose the game in the most heartbreaking type fashion. And what that did is it inspired me to go do something I haven't done in quite some time, because I'm one of these weird people. Like, I really need to be inspired to do so. And what it was I went out and I actually wrote. So if you go visit the website, which is tiptonsports.com, you'll see that I actually put out an article, which is a rare thing for me to do, but it's going to be something that I want to continue doing here going forward. Writing for me has always been a bit of a release. I say this all the time as a joke, but it's not really a joke. I came into this industry because I wanted to be a newspaper writer, and I realized that newspapers were dying, so I went to the safety vest and the safety raft of radio, because that'll never die. But nonetheless, The Dallas Cowboys, to me, as the season ended, all the questions started coming up to me, right? And I'm not one of these people where I hold on to emotions about a game. I think we've spoken about that enough times. Like, I don't care who wins and loses. It doesn't impact my mood. I go on, I do my thing, right? Like, I don't let sports dictate how I feel. But I started asking the question, looking forward into what next season could be with the Dallas Cowboys, and I noticed that they have 21 upcoming free agents. 21 free agents that the Dallas Cowboys are going to have to find a way to re-sign, or are going to have to find a way to manipulate the salary cap in order to keep some of these people. And we're talking about guys like Rico Dowdle. We're talking about Cooper Rush, DeMarcus Lawrence. You look along that entire Dallas Cowboys team, and you've got impact players that you need to now try to find a way to sign if you're the Dallas Cowboys. 21 of them, as a matter of fact. And I look at this team and I say, okay, there's so many questions with them, right? We don't know what's going to happen with Mike McCarthy at the end of the season. Did he do enough? Did Mike McCarthy do enough to continue as the Dallas Cowboys head coach? And then we got to hear in the post-game scrum this from Jerry Jones.
Jerry, what was your message to Mike McCarthy, and what does he mean to you?
Well, I spoke to the whole team, and Mike was in the room with all the coaches and the whole team. And, of course, Mike's one of the best coaches that I think there is. He was made the coach here because I thought that, and he's done absolutely nothing to diminish my opinion of him as a coach. And I am really impressed with the way the players identify, are with him. They're inside with him, and that's important. That's important because he's had some times when each one of those players individually, as well as a team, have not been fun times. And so he's been there in his way for them on an individual basis. He's been there in his way for them on a team basis. And at the end of the day, you know that these are people. All I've got to do is see Bill Bates out here today, and years flash through my mind about days with Bill, a glass of tea or anything like that. There's lots of things that go into being together on trying to win games and win a championship.
As coaches and their families try to make plans for the future, when do you anticipate making some decision about those futures?
I'll follow this kind of the time frame that I've done in the past. That'll be it. So
about a week.
The way that it's evolved in the past will be a time frame, and I can tell you the past is not necessarily consistent in terms of a time frame.
When you said Friday that the hay is in the barn about McCarthy and the coaches, does that mean, have you made up your mind on Mike McCarthy?
No. Well, the point is that all that I'm going to look at, I was answering that question, and that was, does the outcome of this game really impact his future? And I said, no. All of the things I'll consider are hays in the barn.
Jerry, what was your message?
So there you go. Jerry Jones being asked, what is your thoughts? What are your thoughts on Mike McCarthy as the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys? And Jerry does the song and dance, and he kind of just basically said that Mike McCarthy didn't do anything to lose his job by losing to the Washington Commanders. He didn't do anything to keep his job by losing to the Washington Commanders. And I think the overlying issue, as Tommy Canazzo says, that Jerry Jones's voice makes him want to punch him. The overlying issue with the Dallas Cowboys and Augustine Pimentel saying, oh man, the point is Mike McCarthy will be back, and that is hilarious. And that's what I was going to say, Augustine. It feels like Jerry Jones has already laid down the groundwork of, I'm not looking for another coach. I'm not going to do it. Mike McCarthy is my guy. He is my yes man. I don't know how. I cannot for the life of me understand how or why Jerry Jones would want to bring back Mike McCarthy, given how terrible this season went for the Dallas Cowboys, given how bad this season was for this Dallas Cowboys team. Again, a lot of people, not me, but a lot of people said that this team was going to be able to make a deep playoff run. Despite all the losses they had in the offseason, despite all of the issues they had, coaching carousel, whatever it may be, a lot of people thought that this team, the Dallas Cowboys, as currently constructed, was going to be able to make a deep playoff run. And they didn't. They didn't even really get close to sniffing the playoffs. The closest they got after the midway point of the season was a 10% chance of making it to the playoffs. Nobody would have looked at this team and thought that they were going to be nearly as bad as they are right now. Now, as Augustine says, well, here's the thing. Does Jerry Jones actually care about winning when Dallas Cowboys fans will continue to support? Every fan base goes out there and continues to support. Even look at the Premier League. Even whenever your team gets relegated down, you still have fan bases that are going out there and supporting, right? Like fan support is always going to be a thing. So I don't look at that as necessarily a negative. Does he care about winning? Yes, because I think that ultimately at the end of the day, Jerry Jones wants to be able to say that he was responsible for the Dallas Cowboys' early success. And if he can maybe, just maybe, get one more ring than what he already has, that's the most important thing that he could have done. Tommy Canazza saying, I don't think that he's coming back. I feel a mutually agreed split is coming soon. That's what I was going to get at next, Tommy, but I want to address this from our guy, Will Heron, saying, Tippy, sure glad Jerry Jones pulled Cooper Rush so that he could save $250,000. Can I go ahead and address it? I don't know how, but I've been basically berated over the last few months, right, of Jerry Jones is cheap. I don't necessarily think it was a $250,000 incentive that he's trying to not get to Cooper Rush, right? Like, obviously, it's a bad look, but you want to kind of see what Trey Lance can do, because both of those players, both of them, Trey Lance and Cooper Rush, are free agents this year. The possibility of Dallas bringing back Cooper Rush, to me, are you going to pay that much to your backup quarterback? Because he's going to get looked at by other teams. He has played well enough in his tenure as the backup quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys, going back to whenever the first major Dak Prescott injury, and he had to navigate the team, right? Like, he's played well enough in the absences of Dak Prescott that teams are going to look at him and actually want to offer him a contract. You have to see what you've got with Trey Lance. Trey Lance yesterday missed a lot of throws. So now the issue comes with the Dallas Cowboys. Who's going to be your backup going forward? Because the possibility of them bringing back Cooper Rush, to me, is de minimis. I don't see how you pay him what top-tier backup quarterbacks are going to get paid, what other teams out there are going to pay him, while also paying Dak Prescott $60 million a year. You wanted to see what you had in Trey Lance, and even though there were some small, and I mean tiny, flashes of, oh, maybe there's something here, maybe if we get him some reps, watching him short arm wide open throws had to be alarming for the Dallas Cowboys team. What are you going to do when it comes to that offseason? We're in the offseason now, right? What happens with Mike McCarthy is going to happen with Mike McCarthy. Does he stay? Does he go? I'm going back to what Tommy Cananza said about earlier. I think there's going to be a mutual split. Anytime the owner is like, no, I got your back. Don't put any stock into that. Trust me, as someone who's been burned by a major corporation, no, we got your back. You're essential to what we do. we don't need you anymore. That's going to be what I feel like happens with Mike McCarthy. There has to be a split. The pressure cooker that is the Dallas Metroplex with the Dallas Cowboys has to be just impossible to navigate whenever you don't win. And you can win 36 games in 3 years, but if you don't have the ring to show for it, you haven't done enough. So it's not that Jerry Jones benched Cooper Rush to save $250,000. You're losing Cooper Rush. That was an audition from Trey Lance if you're going to keep your job. If we go back and sign you now as our number one backup. And I just don't think that Trey Lance did enough. So now there's going to be a huge void in the back of the Dallas Cowboys depth chart that they've already dealt with at every other position, right? I will bring up their free agents that they have coming up, and it is an astonishing list. An astonishing list. Destiny saying, doesn't the team get more money for winning a Super Bowl? Not necessarily. Like, it's not college athletics, right? Like, obviously, there's going to be a spike in merch sales. There's going to be spikes in things like that. But again, Super Bowl wins help the brand. The Dallas Cowboys brand has never been stronger. So I don't think them winning a Super Bowl is necessarily going to peak anything, right? You win a Super Bowl, you get increase in season ticket sales. The Dallas Cowboys have no problem selling season tickets. The Dallas Cowboys have no problem selling a ticket, right? So that's where winning a Super Bowl comes in monetarily, but there's not like a bonus that the NFL gives you saying, oh, like here's $40 million because you won the Super Bowl. College athletics, yes, with bowl games. Super Bowl, no, right? And if there is a monetary gain, it's not anything substantial. It's all about name recognition, building the brand, and then, of course, season ticket sales and being able to sell out, things like that as a nature. Tommy Canazzo saying, yes, the players do. Yeah, obviously the players do. But we're talking about, Jerry Jones wanting to be frugal instead of winning, right? Tommy Canazzo saying he cares about winning, but he cares about making money and keeping his team in the news a lot more. Will Heron saying, we already know that Trey Lance can't do spit. Oh, I was disappointed, right? Like I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed. And that's how I feel about the Trey Lance experience yesterday. I was happy for the dude, got his first touchdown in 3 years. So it was awesome to see him do that. But man, just short arming. Rico Dowdle wide open in the end zone, and you just short arm it to him. Like it didn't even look like an actual throw. It looked more like a shot put. And I'm sitting here thinking to myself, you're a quarterback in the NFL. One of the few teams that actually have a third quarterback on the roster. You're that guy. You're suited up every single damn game. You can't roll out, plant your feet because you had enough time to plant your feet and actually throw a ball and not just like shot put it out there. It was insane to me. It was insane. I digress. There are big question marks surrounding the Dallas Cowboys right now. As a matter of fact, I'll do that. I'll look up the Dallas Cowboys free agents. And whenever I look at the entire 2025 free agent list for the Dallas Cowboys, we are looking at Zach Martin, DeMarcus Lawrence, Brandon Cooks, Trey Lance, Eric Kendricks, who led the team in tackles this year, Brian Anger, their amazing punter, Jordan Lewis, Linval Joseph, Cooper Rush, CJ Goodwin, Trent Sieg, my good friend Trent Sieg, long snapper for the Dallas Cowboys, Osa Odigizua, Rico Dowdle, Chauncey Goldston, Nick Virgil, Darius Harris, Amani Oruware. I'll always have a hard time saying that damn name. Carl Lawson, Carlos Watkins, Brock Huffman, Israel Makamu, Marquise Bell, Cavante Turpin, Tyrus Wheat, and Janae Thomas. A lot of who is in there, but a lot of oh damn is also in there. When you talk about Zach Martin, when you talk about DeMarcus Lawrence, Brandon Cooks, Eric Kendricks, Cooper Rush, to me, Trent Sieg, Osa Odigizua, Rico Dowdle, Chauncey Golston. That is a ton of impact players on your team that you now have to try to sign with only $19 million in cap space. $19 million in cap space, the 24th ranked cap space in 2025, the Dallas Cowboys. You paid $90 million last year to 2 players. What trade bait do you have now? The only player that you have that you can trade would probably be Micah Parsons, and you're not going to trade Micah Parsons. Maybe you go out there and trade DeRon Bland. Why would you do that? Why would you trade Trayvon Diggs? What trade bait other than draft capital do the Dallas Cowboys have? And whenever you are handcuffed by the salary cap, you need to hold on to your draft capital. Next year, to me, is going to be more of the same. More of the same. Augustine Pimentel saying, wait, you're comparing it to the Premier League? What are the consequences for tanking in any given season? Come on. Again, not talking about tanking or relegation or any of that. I'm talking about fan support. Fan support is always there for their teams no matter what. English League, Premier League, whatever you want to call it, any league like that, fans are always going to support their team. Just because you are super frugal and want to turn your back on your team at any point in time doesn't mean that anyone else does. And if you come at me and say, I don't turn my back on my team, then why are you complaining about other people not turning their backs on their team? That right there is the overlying theme here. Fan support will always be fan support. People that want to talk down on Dallas Cowboys fans only make Dallas Cowboys fans double down on being Dallas Cowboys fans. It's that simple, right? Like, again, no in between. No in between. You either love them or you hate them. And the more people hate on you, the more annoying you want to be. Trust me. And Augustine, you get that too. Tommy Canazza saying, agreed you had to give Trey Lance a shot with some regular season action. And with the ones, that means the first string, you gave up a 4th round pick for the guy. Honestly, we should have seen Lance the minute Dak went down. I am with you on that. I get the mindset of you don't give up on the season, right? Like, I totally understand that mindset. But if you're the Dallas Cowboys, this season was done. Done. You had nothing to play for. You ruined your shot at a top 5 pick, and I get it. This is a weird draft. Are there good players in it? I'm sure there are. Are there transcendent players in it? I don't think so. The Dallas Cowboys have so much needs along the offensive line, along the defensive line, along the linebacking core now, in the secondary, at wide receiver, because Brandon Cooks can no longer be your number 2. He's cooked, so he cannot be your number 2 anymore. Do you want more depth at running back? Rico Dowdle, to me, has established that he's the number 1 running back there, but do you go out and get an Ashton Genty if he's available for you at 12? Because that's the thing, right? You're picking in what I always call purgatory. You're picking at 12 to 20. Anywhere in that area means you didn't have the success or the lack of success that you needed to make this season seem worth it, right? Like, if you get a top 10 pick, you're like, at least I got a top 10 pick. Not me. I want a top 5 pick. I don't like top 10 picks. I want a top 5 pick. If you wind up picking the last 5, that means you had a pretty decent run in the playoffs. If you're picking anywhere from 12 to 20, you were just more than likely one of the first teams knocked out of the wild card round, more than likely one of the first teams that didn't make the playoffs. Like, that's the terrible purgatory that you get to be in at that point in time. Tommy Canazza saying Zach Martin is retiring. To me, Lewis, Odigizua, and Golston need to come back. The rest of them are replaceable. Rico Dowdle is replaceable because we saw what the running back by committee looked like for the Dallas Cowboys. I agree with you, Odigizua, Jordan Lewis. I would like Lawrence to come back just because I think you need someone else on the other side of the line to help out with Micah Parsons being able to, so you don't triple team him like we saw yesterday happen a bunch of times. I think the statistic was also no one double teamed Micah Parsons more than the Washington Commanders in the 2 games that they played. Like it was insane. And that's even going back to just game 1 that they played against the Cowboys and lost. They still double teamed Micah Parsons more than any other team, and he was still getting out there and getting his sacks. Tommy Canasa saying, and Aubrey, we got to bring back the kickers. Of course you got to bring back the kicker. Brandon Aubrey, to me, I put it out on social media, I think it was last week, when Brandon Aubrey kicks a field goal from 60 yards plus, and it hits the middle of the upright. And I sit there thinking to myself, most people wouldn't even get it close. And he's hitting the middle of the upright with it. His misses are exciting. Especially yesterday on kickoffs where he kicks it off and it hits a cheerleader in the side of the head. Augustine Pimentel saying, but there are no consequences for tanking. No, I'm not looking at fan support. I'm looking at owner responsibilities. Owner responsibility is to increase the value of your asset. That is what the job of the owner is to do. The job of the president of the team is to increase the recognition of the brand and the value of your asset. The Dallas Cowboys have done that. In that aspect, Jerry Jones is a very successful owner. Do we talk about spending money? Is Jerry Jones the cheapest owner in the NFL? No. Jerry Jones, again, with this roster, this crap-filled roster, is $19 million away from the salary cap and has to try to distribute that $19 million out to potentially 21 roster spots. 22 if you count Zeke Elliott. I'm not counting Zeke Elliott because they let him go to go find a playoff team to go with. Let's see if that happens. You don't have enough cap space. Therefore, the owner isn't being cheap. The owner is paying players. He's doing what he's supposed to do. The GM is signing talent. No one can say that the Dallas Cowboys drafts have been bad. Maybe the free agent signings have been bad, but the roster you look at has been a pretty decent roster. As an owner, he's been extremely, extremely successful. You say there's no consequences for tanking. He didn't tank. He came out and said, we're still going to play Cooper Rush. They should have played Trey Lance because that would have had some losses in there. Instead, they play Cooper Rush. They keep CeeDee Lamb in there longer than what he needed to be in there for. They had a bunch of players that were injured that were coming back. Like DeRon Bland probably should have just missed the rest of the season. Trayvon Diggs probably should have just missed the rest of the season. Micah Parsons probably should have just missed the rest of the season. You tank, you keep those guys from getting longer-term injuries, and you go on your way. The Dallas Cowboys didn't tank. So there was no consequence, or nor should there be a consequence for them tanking. The entire argument of the Dallas Cowboys fan base, they're terrible, they're supporting the team. The owner responsibilities. The owner's responsibilities is to grow the asset of your brand and brand recognition. The Dallas Cowboys are the most valuable franchise in sports. Ergo, Jerry Jones is a very successful owner. Tommy Canasa saying, why was Mike McCarthy calling fade balls to one of the shortest players on the team in Cooks when they got into the red zone? That to me, like the whole play calling, man. And Tommy, you know, you and I have had some back and forths with the Dallas Cowboys. Well, you'll be like, Mike McCarthy, you're doing this. I'm Mike McCarthy doing that. And I'll be like, you know what? Maybe it wasn't all Mike McCarthy. I'm looking at the way they're calling plays in the red zone. I'm looking at the way they're doing all kinds of weird things. I'm sitting here thinking to myself, is it the water boy thing of Dan Fouts, like, oh, it's the last game of the season, can't hold anything back. You're throwing a fade route to a guy that's shorter than me. I'm 5'10". I'm by no means a big dude. And you're throwing a fade route to a dude shorter than me who's coming back off of knee injuries, who probably has a 1.5-inch vertical jump. It was this team. I again, for the life of me, I cannot figure out what the hell is going on with this team with the Dallas Cowboys. Tommy Canasa going on to say that Rico Dowdle is definitely replaceable And even in the draft, this is a running back heavy draft class. Oh, I keep thinking about this, like the possibilities of what can happen in this year's NFL draft. And I just feel like where the Dallas Cowboys are picking at right now is a void, right? Like if I'm them, find someone. I would address the defensive line. You've basically been Swiss cheese with all the holes that you give up. Like to me, it's not. There's just, again, so many more questions than answers with the Dallas Cowboys. I don't like this whole we have to wait and find out what's going to happen with the coach. The coaching carousel has already started. As a matter of fact, the coaching carousel probably should have started the second they started the season 3-8. They had a 5-game losing streak in there. Very few teams survive a 5-game losing streak. The Cincinnati Bengals did, but that's because they just busted out a 5-game winning streak right after all that. The Cincinnati Bengals did what the Dallas Cowboys couldn't do. They salvaged the season. They gave themselves a shot. Ultimately, the destiny wasn't in their own hands. It was in the hands of other teams, and the Kansas City Chiefs decided health much more better or much more fulfilling than strangling the Denver Broncos and not allowing them to enter the playoffs. Now Denver's going to go up to Buffalo, and I think that that's a scary proposition if you're Buffalo. I also feel like that game is going to go two ways. Either Buffalo's going to trounce them or Denver's going to win a very, very, very close game. Like one of those last-second games. Denver, much better now than I thought they were going to be in the past or at the beginning of the season. Whew, look at that, a 34-minute first segment. Why not? My New Year's resolution was to pay more attention to my clock, and the conversation just kept going. Jesus, man. All right, y'all, we're going to take a quick break. Whenever we come back, there's trouble in Miami. Ooh, a lot of trouble in Miami. All that and more whenever we return on the Tipping Point with Mike Tipton. What's up, everybody? I'm super excited to try after all the beers have been put into the little fridge. Now it's time to try them out. We have the Fistmas beer. Merry Fistmas for those of you that celebrate Fistmas. This is coming to us from our friends over in Chicago, Illinois. This is from Revolution Brewing, and it is a red ale, 6.5% ABV. Look at the beauty on this can. Absolutely amazing artwork. Well, would you look at that? Video works halfway through, I guess. I don't know. Either way, we're back on the Tipping Point with Mike Tipton. That didn't give me enough time to get all the stuff done that I needed to get done. So that was a great a great little I guess promo there for Beer Box. Don't know what keeps happening with that video. Maybe it's just not meant to be. Merry Fistmas, everybody. Maybe that's the way that it's going to work out here from now on with the Beer Box promos. I was able to get through my December Beer Box. It was an amazing Christmas holiday themed Beer Box. Some great things in there. There was a cranberry beer, a cranberry cider that was just absolutely amazing. The chef's kiss on that as well. I learned yesterday, though, too, that there is a brewery in Dallas that is going to be creating a Limp Biscuit themed beer of their own, and it's called Fred Thirst. I'm a lover of cheesy little puns like that. I was going to play this as a transition, so I think I might as well just do. I was up last night. Couldn't sleep, insomnia hitting hard, all the stressors and things like that in life. And I was like, I'm going to go get audio. I'm going to do things like you would normally do on a radio show. So why the hell not? Let's go ahead and play this because it was all about the money yesterday.
What do you think is the biggest reason?
Jesus. And, of course, the wrong thing plays. Going to have to wind up getting, like, more people to help out with production.
Here comes the money. Here we go. Money talk.
Here comes the money.
Mike Evans, 5 yards away from tying Jerry Rice's all-time record for consecutive 1,000-yard seasons. So that's why they're looking to throw it here. Mayfield throwing. Evans! He's got it! He ties it! Jerry Rice has company!
$3 million on the line for 5 total yards. That's what Mike Evans got yesterday. $3 million for his 11th straight 1,000-yard receiving season. If you didn't watch that game, at the end of the game, they are trying to force feed the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Baker Mayfield are trying to force feed Mike Evans the ball. They are doing everything they possibly can to just try to get him that 1,000-yard season, right? They call a play. They're down at the goal line. They have a slight lead over the New Orleans Saints. Baker Mayfield drops back, and the New Orleans Saints, the jerks that they are, triple teaming Mike Evans in the end zone. So Baker Mayfield has to just toss it to the back, a little lateral pass to Bucky Irving. Bucky Irving gets into the end zone, and you can tell the entire team is upset. Bucky Irving himself, mad as all hell, because it seems like Mike Evans is going to come 5 yards short of what he needs for his 1,000-yard season. New Orleans gets the ball. They're trying to march down the field. They're only down by 8 points. Got to get a touchdown to try and play spoiler here against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Ultimately, that falls short. They turn the ball over on downs. Normally, you just take a knee. Everyone knew where this ball was going. Baker Mayfield hikes the ball, drops back, and just throws a laser 5 yards on the dot where Mike Evans catches it, and he lunges forward, gets himself about 8 yards, gets himself tied in that record, and gets $3 million in incentives for tying that record of Jerry Rice. Along with that, we have Geno Smith getting $6 million in incentives yesterday for a 10-win season, leading the league in completions, which was just mind-blowing to me, and leading the league in completion percentage. Go out there, get your money. When people talk about why do you play the game whenever you got nothing to play for, money. Always, always, always the money. And then as the season comes to an end, you start getting Tommy got also saying Jerry Jones would have benched him. Jerry Jones would have, oh, well, Mike, it's a great season. I think you've done enough. You got 996 yards. It's a great season for you. Just go ahead and sit down. Sit down on the bench. You'll be all right. Well, we'll put someone else in there. You know what? We'll be doing good. And as much as I was looking at the Dallas Cowboys and I was disappointed in the Dallas Cowboys, and I have all these questions with the Dallas Cowboys, this was happening in Miami.
Mike, I don't think Tyreek played in the fourth quarter. Did you pull him, or did he come out due to injury? What was the situation?
I was informed that he was unavailable right before a drive. I was not informed that it was a new injury, and I think at that point in time, my focus was on the players, and I didn't take the time to go try to figure out more into that. Just there was guys on the field that were competing, and we were trying to win a game. So
there were guys on the field that were competing. We were trying to win a game. Mike McDaniel from the Miami Dolphins was asked about the noticeable absence of Tyreek Hill in the fourth quarter. And I remember, I'm watching the game, right? And those cameras and the audio seem to just be on all of the Miami Dolphins, right? Like, there was an injury on the field following a run by A-Chain. And I was sitting here thinking to myself, like, man, they should probably turn that mic down, because they were doing some back and forth there. And then you kind of just hear out of the side, like, hey, Cheetah, you done? Cheetah, you're done for the day? Like, you okay? And there was like a genuine concern there. And you hear Mike McDaniel say, I was informed that he wasn't going to play. During his press conference scrum, Tyreek Hill was asked about that, and he said, no. Coach took me out. Coach took me out. And then he was asked this.
What do you think is the biggest reason the team finished 8 and 9?
I would say for me, man, as a captain, you know, it was a tough season, man. It sucks, man, missing QB1, man. It really hurts a lot, man. You know, not having him, but, you know, Snoop did a great job of, you know, filling in whenever he learned the offense, you know, getting us going. But, you know, whenever you're missing, you know, your franchise player, man, it kind of sucks. So.
As a captain, what is the message you have to these guys in the offseason? You won't feel this at the end of the season.
I don't even know, bro. You know, this is my first time I haven't been in the playoffs, man. So, I mean, for me, like I said, man, I just got to do what's best for me and my family, dog. If that's here, if that's wherever the case may be, man, I'm finna open that door for myself, dog. As I'm opening the door, like I'm out, bro. You know, so it was great playing here, but you know, at the end of the day, bro, I got to do what's best for, you know, for my career and, you know, what's best, because I'm too much of a competitor to be, you know, just out there.
Mean you thinking about leaving here?
If it is, hey, yeah.
I love the, are you thinking about leaving here? I mean, he starts walking away, yes. And you can hear the poor Miami Dolphins media relations person being like, holy hell, I can't believe he's saying this. Like no more. No more. Tyreek Hill forced his way out of Kansas City so that he can be the guy in Miami. And it's been a colossal disappointment. And he's talking about this is the first time in his career that he's not been in the playoffs. And this to me is such a sulking from a player that doesn't necessarily have the the clout, in my opinion at least, to sit here and say like, oh, okay, well, I need to demand all these things now. You're a wide receiver. Tommy Cananza going out and saying, oh, Tyreek is going to be on the move again. Haha, cough, cough, Jerry. Augustine Pimentel saying, I love how all these players are so competitive that they can't take teams to the playoffs. And that's what I was going to say. This season, the Miami Dolphins have underperformed. And yes, I get it. The injury to Tua Tagovailoa is going to be a hard thing to overcome. People don't realize the value that Tua brings to a team. He's a very accurate quarterback. He's got a decent enough arm, but he knows timing. That's what that's his best asset as a quarterback is he knows the second his back foot hits, that's when the ball needs to come out. And he knows exactly what window to throw it in, and he's very good and very accurate at that style of being a quarterback. But when your quarterback goes down, you have to step up. Everyone else around you has to step up. And that's not just me saying it because I saw it this year with the Dallas Cowboys, right? Like the Dallas Cowboys lose Dak Prescott, Cooper Rush comes in. Yeah, there's a couple of, missteps here, but he gets the offense going and they're doing what they need to do. Everybody stepped up because they knew, especially in football, it's the next man up mentality. The Denver Broncos, the year that they won the Super Bowl in 2015, whenever you had Frank and Manning held together with rubber bands, chewed up bubble gum and duct tape, were still a decent enough team in the games that he missed, which I think was 7 games, with Brock Osweiler as their backup quarterback. Brock Osweiler helped take that team to the playoffs, ultimately gets himself a huge contract because of that, right? Just because of how well he was able to manage the team in the absence of Peyton Manning. I get that Tyler Huntley was a late sign. I think he was signed the day after Tua Tagovailoa got his injury. But where were you? Where was Tyreek Hill? If Snoop Huntley's throwing you the ball, how come you're not catching it? How come you had a career low in receptions this year? How come you didn't reach 1,000 yards? Why was it that in this game, you decided you were going to go sit your little happy ass down on the bench because you were scoreboard watching and saw that Denver was trouncing the Kansas City Chiefs in a game that the Chiefs didn't play in at all? Now I wonder, maybe I'm going galaxy mind here, right? The way that Tyreek Hill missed the play or left the Kansas City Chiefs because he wanted to be the guy, he wanted to be the focal point, he wanted to be the MVP type dude for another team down in Miami. Maybe that's the reason why Kansas City was like, you know what, we're good. Denver gets in, Miami stays out. Have fun watching us from the couch again, Tyreek, because the Kansas City Chiefs have won 2 Super Bowls in the absence of Tyreek Hill. So clearly it's not Tyreek Hill was the reason for the success in Kansas City. I've already seen the rumblings out there. Maybe he's going to go back to Kansas City. Maybe, people are talking about him going to Dallas. People are talking about him going to other teams, teaming up with someone like an Aaron Rodgers or something like that to try and make a back-end run of his career at a Super Bowl. He had more kids this year, Tyreek Hill did, than touchdown receptions. Wrap your mind around that. More kids this year than touchdown receptions. We were talking about all the teams that won a home game in 2024 before the Dallas Cowboys did in late November. Tyreek Hill had more kids this year than he had touchdown receptions. Maybe your focus isn't on the damn football field, my guy. And I get it. You're a brand new father of 5 this year. Mind-blowing. And you got to take care of your kids, right? Like that's going to be the thing. You're in the house with all the kids, and maybe that's the thing that's keeping you from performing your best. But to sit there and try to throw your coach under the bus, to sit there and try to throw all the other players under the bus on the team, what the heck happened? What the heck happened to accountability? You were voted the number 1 player in the league by players in the league this year. That means you're supposed to be a transcendent type talent, yet you didn't do your part in trying to help this damn team win. Tommy Canazza saying players like Tyreek Hill don't get walking papers. So when Kansas City let him walk, it should have told every team everything they needed to know. Exactly. And I'm trying to figure out if maybe it's just Miami. What the hell's going on in Miami? Because we saw Jimmy Butler this weekend say, look, I want out too. The Miami Heat suspended him for 7 games. Jimmy Butler saying, I want out. I'm done. I don't want to be a part of this franchise anymore. Maybe there's something in Miami. Right? Or maybe it's that you look at Jimmy Butler and he's been on 5 different teams in his career. Timberwolves, Bulls, Sixers, I guess it's 4, and the Miami Heat, and then whatever other team he's going to go to. I feel like I'm missing a team here. What the hell is going on with the whole player empowerment thing that we're getting to watch right now, where it's like you can have a piss poor season and yet somehow feel that you have the power to sit here and hold a franchise hostage, to sit there at the last game of the season and try to be like, I got to do what's best for me and my family. It's about my family and blah, 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 blah. I can't remember off the top of my head who the athlete was. I think it was Latrell Sprewell. Whenever they were asked, like, well, what do you got to do? He's like, I got to feed my kids. What's the dish? Like, what's the issue here, Tyreek Hill? Is it the team? We didn't have quarterback number 1, so now I got to do what's best for me and my family. In what world does that make sense? Well, legitimately, in what world does that make sense? Oh man, Tua Tagovailoa wasn't here, so my kids were suffering. Is he the dad? Is he the father of your children? Is that the reason why he's so important to you and your family's success? Like it's just mind blowing to me, man. Oh. Looking at other news, because I don't want to continue talking about this damn thing. It's just so annoying to sit here and listen to players complain about the team when your job is to catch a damn football. Again, more kids this year than you had touchdown passes, touchdown receptions. Mind-blowing. Crazy stat. Even if it was one kid, that would be a crazy stat. 5. The Jacksonville Jaguars have parted ways with head coach Doug Peterson. They're keeping Trent Baalke as their general manager. The Giants are keeping their general manager and Brian Daboll after this season. I don't see how they do that. I don't understand why they do that. I, as a Cowboys fan, love that they are doing that, because that just seems like a recipe for failure. So New York Giants, keep doing what you're doing. Hell, go back and get Danny Dimes. Sign Tommy Cutlets to a long-term deal. I am all about it. Tommy Carranza asking, he had that many kids this year alone? Yes. It's yes. There is a married but multiple woman situation thing going on, if you get my drift. And it's been an issue that's been plaguing him in Miami for the last 2 seasons at least. So my guy, you've got to keep stuff in-house would be my advice for him. But obviously he's not going to listen to me because I'm just some fat guy that talks into a microphone, screaming into the abyss that is the internet. And then I saw this article. Tommy also saying, damn, bro, let me borrow a couple for tax season. I'm about to say, like, he doesn't need them. He's good. He's an NFL player. Spread the wealth to those that might need a little bit something else. Tyreek Hill, show us how much you really love the community. But I saw this article and it reminded me of something that I had seen a couple of weeks ago, and it's super laughable. And it's that the New York Jets, who now have a bunch of question marks of their own, and their owner, Woody Johnson. The story came out about a week or two ago that Woody Johnson stopped a trade between the Jets and the Broncos this season that would have landed Jerry Jeudy on the Jets. Another weapon, a younger weapon for Aaron Rodgers to have, who ultimately made the Pro Bowl this year on a very bad Cleveland Browns team. Not too sure how they were able to manage that. But Jerry Jeudy not traded to the New York Jets because Woody Johnson's teenage son did not like Jerry Jeudy's Madden NFL rating. I would normally not believe that. Like, that just sounds like satire. Like, that's an article from The Onion. But this is reported and vetted by people like Diana Rossini, who have a lot to lose if they're wrong on these types of articles, right? So whenever I have reputable sources just like that, but like someone that I know, that I actually know and respect as a journalist and as a writer, and I see that they are writing about Woody Johnson stopping a trade with the Denver Broncos because he was informed about his Madden rating, is just the dumbest damn thing I can think of. And you're talking to someone whose favorite team is the Dallas Cowboys. And I was looking at I was watching that game yesterday between the Jets and the Dolphins. And I had Aaron Rodgers on a fantasy team that makes the most points, or team that scores the most points, gets a couple $100. I had something going with that. You can't say that. You can't say that Woody Johnson's kids are a better GM than Jerry Jones. Jerry Jeudy had a Pro Bowl season this year with Deshaun Watson Jameis Winston as his quarterback. He made it to the Pro Bowl. He could have done something better than that with Aaron Rodgers as his quarterback. Granted, I think Aaron Rodgers is washed, but you can't say that. You can't say that Woody Johnson's teenage kid is a better GM than Jerry Jones. Although he's probably a better GM than his owner, which is the dad. So, I mean, but it's just mind-blowing to me that's something that actually came out, was this owner was looking at a video game being played by his son, and that dictated the way a season went for one player and for an entire franchise. Just absolutely mind-blowing. I am a fan of the chaos that causes. Good for you, Woody Johnson's teenage son, who I don't know your name, but good for you for proving that you can be a reliable commodity and making your father a joke, a bigger joke than he's already been, because the Jets, woof, they've been bad. I look at a lot of other teams out there and I'm like, man, you know what? The Dallas Cowboys got a lot of problems. They're not that team, though. They're not the Jets. They're not the Giants. They're okay. They will be okay. Tommy Canonsa saying, who did Jerry Jones bring in again? Jonathan Mingo? Had he checked Madden's Mingo rating, he wouldn't have traded for him. You know what? Maybe you're right. Maybe you're right. Maybe that's what it should have been. Jerry, why? Me, though, I like Jonathan Mingo. I think there's some upside there. He just needs to be with the team a little bit longer. I don't think he's a number one. I don't think he's a number two, but he can be a big-ass slot guy. He can be your number three, a possession receiver, a Keyshawn Johnson-style type receiver. Because, you know, those are things that we still demand in the NFL these days. All right, everybody, I want to thank you so much for tuning into today's show. I have to go to the VA and get blood drawn today for the first time in years. I am terrified. We'll see how that goes. I'm not a dude that likes needles. That's why I have no piercings and no tattoos. Not a big fan of needles. So that's going to happen to me today. Maybe I'll do some documenting of that. It'll be a fun time for us. I want to say thank you to everyone that's tuned in on Roku right now, everyone that's tuned in on YouTube, Facebook, and X. I appreciate the love. I appreciate the support, and we will see you tomorrow.